So good morning guys, Grant Davidson here once again, your usual Friday webinar host. Fantastic to have you with us this morning, and really we're having a look at Webinar 101 here, 10 tips to save you time every day. So we've got an absolute chocker webinar for you. We've got it filled with different tips from all areas of the software. We're going to go from quick tips, things like our keyboards, quick selections, right through to the likes of template customization. So lots and lots in here this morning, so we won't waste any time. We'll jump in and get started with it all. Okay guys, and first off we're going to open up on this little assembly I've got here. And now the first thing I'm going to speak about may seem a little bit obvious, however it's still quite surprising actually the amount of users who don't utilise the toolbox functionality. Now toolbox, if it's completely unknown to you, what actually is it in the first place? Well, toolbox is quite literally a collection of tens of thousands of different configurations of fasteners, bolts, screws, bearings and so on, all at your fingertips available to use in your designs. All the sort of hardware that you don't want to be modelling up every time can simply be dragged over, dropped into the design and used straight off. Now in my case here, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple bolts to this. However, this isn't the main tip that I want to give you guys. That will come in just a moment here. First, we'll go ahead and size this bolt. We're going to go for an M4 size bolt, get that into place. And now guys, what I could do, Toolbox does give me the option, as you can see with my mouse cursor there, to place additional bolts. But let's consider I had a design with 100 instances, 200 pattern instances, for example. How can I effectively go ahead and add fasteners or any other feature for that matter into all these different pattern instances? Well, here's a fantastic tip. Now a lot of people don't know about this. It's actually a kind of hidden away little pattern feature in here, but that is the pattern driven component pattern, which okay does sound a bit confusing, but let me show you. If I go ahead and choose my bolt here, and then for my driving feature or component, I can actually use an already existing pattern, so the likes of a bolt hole, for example. I can go ahead and use that, and what it will do is it will go through and it will place a bolt into each and every single hole. Now, this is really beneficial. For one, we don't need to place them manually, and for two, if I need to change the configuration of the bolts, everything can be driven from the seed component, so it's really quick to make changes as well. Now jumping over to a different part here guys, I've got a little project running on this one. Now I've got a little bit more work to do with it, so I'm going to open up one of the components of this and tell you what I'm looking to do. And that is, I need to add some tool holes here. So this is basically a vise and I want some holes as tool rests basically. So what I'm going to do, just as we all would, I'm going to go ahead and just start sketching these in. However, the way in which I duplicate my sketch may differ slightly from the way that you would do it, and that's what I want to show you guys here. Now I need 6 instances of this slot sketch, as you can see. Now how can we do that? Well, we could just go ahead and sketch them in manually, or we could utilize the control key. And again, this is one that not many users know about here guys. If I go ahead and choose even multiple sketch entities, use my control and drag, as you can see I can very quickly start piecing together my sketch entities. Now again, I know we've got patterns and I know some of the more clever amongst you may think of other ways we can do it, but for conceptual design, just getting things into place quite quickly, that's a fantastic tool again that not many know about. Now to follow that up, how can we quickly add in our feature? Now obviously in this case I want a cut feature for this, and a great way to do that is using the S key. Now just by pressing S on my keyboard, what happens is I get this little contextual menu popping up. And in this menu I've got things like cuts, extrudes, fillets, the most common features which we tend to use day in, day out. Now rather than having to go up to my command manager, switch over to my features, I can just hit my S key, select cut, go ahead and choose what I'm actually inserting a cut with, and we're done. Now what I can also do is if I right click, I can say obviously through all, or starting from 2015 we get the option to use through all in both directions, which again just takes a little bit extra legwork out. Now that may seem a little bit insignificant guys, but if it is something you're doing 10, 20, 30 times a day, that's going to add up. Okay, so I've got my holes in there now. I'm going to return to the top level assembly in just a moment, but first what I want to do is add some fillets. Now this fillet 10 that I've got, I would like just a complete copy of that onto, see the little lug holes that we've got here where it's going to be fastened down? I would like a copy of that fillet 10 onto them. How can I do that? Well, again, going back to my control key, guys, I can go ahead and drag that fillet from the tree and drop it onto the model. And what it's going to do is create a brand new fillet feature in the tree. Now again, guys, this isn't one that you'd want to do time and time again because you'll end up with a very large feature tree. However, for conceptual design, quickly piecing something together, fantastic tool. Use that control key and duplicate sketches. Use it to duplicate fillets, chamfers, and so on. Great time saving. Now jumping back into the assembly here, what I would like to do to continue this project, obviously this is just the bare vise at the moment, I would like a little bit of plate stock on here. Now how can I do that? Well, this leads me on to speak about one of the most powerful time-saving tips that I've got for you guys. I have covered it before, so apologies if I'm a bit of a broken record, but this is a fantastic tool again that, again, it's quite shocking. A lot of people maybe aren't quite aware of it, so they'll create parts in different ways, bring them in, and it can be quite tricky. So let me show you guys this one here. Now, if I go ahead and drop down my Insert Component dialog, I can choose New Part. Now with this new part, what I get is a little tick next to my mouse cursor there, and I just need to go ahead and choose a sketch plane. Now I'm going to choose this back face, and I'm going to start a brand new sketch on it. Now what I can also do here is use my Convert Entities tool. I want to copy that exact shape that we've got in the vise there. So I'll use my Convert Entities tool, bring that through, and then just adjust as necessary. Obviously we've got these little bits of leg on there which we don't necessarily need, so we'll just go ahead and cap that off and use the trim tool. Now that was another tool you guys just seen there, the context sensitive gesture wheel for my mouse cursor. How I can access that, and you'll see it time and time again throughout the webinar, is holding down my right mouse button and going ahead and just moving it in either direction to select commonly used sketch entities and features. Now we've got that all trimmed up nice. Let's go ahead and do a quick extrude on there just to finish this off, and I'll show you guys what we're left with. So again, just in the usual way, carry out our extrusion, and now once we're happy with the new part, all we need to do is exit out of this in context editing mode. At which point, if you have a look at our tree there, we've actually got an additional feature now. Well, an additional part, sorry. Which if I go ahead and open that up, as you can see, it can be opened up, it can be saved externally, and so on. And I can be confident that is the exact shape that I need because it was quite literally modeled in context. Now, I've moved the design on a little bit further now. I've added a few more defining features to it. And what I would like to do here, guys, is go ahead and create a drawing of it. However, I'm hitting a little bit of a problem here. Let me show you what I'm getting. So I'm going to open up my standard drawing template, and I'm going to do a standard free view on here. We're going to bring this in, and sure enough, the views look great. There's no problem there. Quite happy with the views. We'll maybe even bring in our isometric view. However, the problem that I'm seeing is if we have a look at the title block on this drawing, it's not pulling much information about this part through. Sure, we've got machine vise, but what about the title, the material, the weight, and so on? How can I get those properties coming through? Now this leads me on to talk a little bit about template customization here, guys. And again, a really, really big time-saving tool because it automates the process of creating drawings. First thing I'm going to do is open up a new part template here, guys. Because what I want to do is save a brand new part template which is going to store the properties that I want to use on my drawing. Now I can insert these as configuration specific properties or as custom properties. Now in this case I'm going to add them as custom properties, and I'm going to go ahead and use the drop down here to just choose what it is I'm after. As you've seen, I typed in description, and then for the rest of the properties I'll use the drop down. I can use either. So in my case here, I would like to have description, I'd like part number, revision, drawn by, and the last one, we're going to go for material. Now I would like to use these properties for each and every single part that I create. So I'm not going to necessarily add values at the moment, we'll do that a little bit later. Let's just click OK on there, and what I'm going to do next is go File, Save As, and we're not going to save it as a part document as we're used to doing. Instead, we're going to save this as a part template, because it's the template that carries the properties, if you see where I'm going with this. Now let's go ahead and give this a name. We will just call it, let's go for custom. Feel free to be a bit more creative with the name there, guys. So we've now got our new custom template. Let's close that drawing down. Now if I go to new, sure enough, as you can see, I've now got my custom template. Now if I choose to use that custom template, indeed, all my properties are there. They're ready to go. I can fill in the values. Now let's bring back that part that I was talking about a bit earlier, and we'll fill the values in for that. So for the description, this is going to be machine part. For the part number, I'll go ahead and assign the correct part number. Revision, we'll give it a revision number. Drawn by, well, it was drawn by me. And then the material. Now I'm going to be a little bit smarter with this one, guys. Rather than just entering in the material, I'm going to use the drop down and choose material from there, because what that will cause SolidWorks to do is evaluate the material from the feature manager design tree. So if it changes, then the drawing and subsequently the properties are going to change as well. Okay, so I've got my part file, happy with that. Now let's go ahead and make a drawing of it. So at the moment I've only got my standard drawing template, so I'm going to be faced with the same problem here, guys. I'm going to bring in the views that I want, which again look great. However, down in my title block I'm not getting that much information through about the part. So let's change it. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to right click on the drawing sheet itself and we're going to go to edit sheet format. If you see that in there in your right click mouse button. And what we're going to do for title, we're going to make sure that there's not already any notes in there, and we're going to add our own note. So I'm going to go to note, we're going to place the note, and all the power of linking properties, guys, comes from this button here. It's actually really very simple once you know how to do it. Now if I click on link to property, brings up a little dialog for me here, which I'm going to drag over for you. And we can choose, okay, is that property going to come from the current document or the model found here? Now, in my case, it's not coming from the drawing. It's going to be from the model specified in the sheet properties. And I'm looking for description, which there we go. It goes ahead and pulls through that custom property that we added in the part just a moment ago. Let's do the same again for material. I'll drag it over, I'll drop it in, and let's link that to another property. So again, it's not going to be the current document, rather the drawn view specified in sheet properties, and we'll link that to the material. And sure enough, it brings our material through. Looking much better now and starting to populate that title block. And again, this is all automated, so it's not something that we'll need to spend time on with future drawings. So let's come out of there. And as I say, guys, now that's great, it's doing it for this drawing. However, I want to save the template so any future drawings which I create automatically pull through the material and description. So I'm going to delete out all the views. You can see that the properties disappear when I do that because they don't have anywhere to pull them from. And what I'm going to do is similar to what I've done in the part file. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to use my Save As, and I'm going to save the template of this drawing. So we'll go in there, we'll drop this down, Drawn Templates. SolidWorks very handily points us to the correct location, as you can see in my Program Data folder. And again, super creative name, Custom Drawing. And we'll save that. Okay, and the final step here, guys, just to test that we've done all that correctly, is let's close everything down. I've got a new part file here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new drawing with it using my custom drawing template. It's this round cover, so let's bring that in, and we'll see if our property fields populate. And sure enough, pulls through the material, pulls through the title, and the drawing number in that case as well. Now obviously, guys, we're just adding a couple of properties there, but you don't need to stop there. You can add your material, you can add drawn by, you can add basically any property which you wish can be pulled through onto your drawing. Now guys, we have used up all our time today. So just in summary, a quick recap of the 10 tips we covered there. So a little bit on Toolbox, we had a look at the fantastic pattern-driven pattern, keep that one in mind. A few keyboard shortcuts, using our Control key, using the S key, and then the right-clicking the end condition selection, so the through all both. We had a quick look at some in-context part modeling, some part and drawn template customization, which is very, very handy indeed. We had a look at extracting material property from the part, and finally, when we were using that link to property, the correct name for that is parametrically linked notes, so we also had a look at that as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that webinar. If you've got any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop me an email, give us a call, however you wish. That's it for today, guys. We'll hopefully see you on the next webinar taking place 2 weeks today. But for now, have a fantastic weekend. Cheers.